be proud representing zero point 0.2 of the world population, David, because the entire planet seems to have thousands of organizations that want to destroy, hate, kill, whatever you want to call it. Or should I be proud because it takes the world to hate 0.2% of the population and try to continue a genocide movement that's gone on, as you said earlier, since Abraham, or 3,000 years, right? Guys, welcome to the Rant Network. My name's Stuart Brisgell. That's David Solomon with the Mickey Mouse ears. And we bring you an unfiltered conversation, unedited, on a wide range of topics. And typically, this week we dedicate towards a year in review. And you know what? It's kind of like been the sediment all year long. But I think today we want to focus in on all the organizations that try and put lipstick on pigs, but it's the same pig. I don't know how else to say it. Please join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, where we typically go much wider than the wars of the world and the daily politic mantras, but we try and get to deeper issues affecting society. And so sit back and relax, because this is going to be a wild conversation, because I think that we're going to connect some dots today that really just, they're in front of you every day. I just want to take a few seconds, David, before I let you dive in on this and wipe me out completely. David's a history buff and a history major, and has been a really good friend for over 45 years. And, we have tried to stay down a centrist line, and we've been accused of being right-wing propagandists. We've been accused of being the most vitriol Zionists in the world. And you know what? David and I really don't agree on a lot of issues, and we're not. We're just so sick and tired of the media. And again, I'm saying this, the media as a whole seeming to want to destroy, with all their vigor and hatred, 0.2% of the world population. I just don't get it. David, tell me.
Well, I think it's more than. I think you've got to be careful here, because we're not talking about just media. I mean, look at these organizations. The United Nations Relief Workers Association, UNRWA. Its only goal is to, quote, help the Palestinian cause, but in the meantime, they're complicit with Hamas to kill Jews. And what's the reaction from the world? Silence. And if you go back to previous rants, including the one I did on Monday as a solo, it's the silence that's incredible. It's the silence and the complicity that's incredible. And we've seen with the United Nations, numerous with the UN Women, which has remained silent. Its spokespeople have yet to say any condemnation about what has gone on with the rape of the women and the treatment of the women. The Red Cross continues to say we can't do anything, but doesn't even try. You have the United Nations body itself, that its UN Secretary General waited almost 10 weeks before he saw the video. But in each and every occasion, this was about discrediting Israel. And it's not just the United Nations. In the United States, just to give you an idea, the amount of disruption, we've seen it at Christmas. We saw this now in New York, when police had to actually finally arrest people for disruption and other things, because you can't have Christmas. You can't have Christmas. They have decided that you can't have Christmas. It's canceled. That's what they used. But the most sickening thing is that how the politicians, especially in the Democratic Party, and I'm not saying that there are no Republicans, but here in the Democratic Party, twist and gnarl the truth. So we've seen Rashida Tlaib try, and she kind of got slapped on the wrist and said, naughty, naughty, naughty girl, you can't talk like that. But meanwhile, AOC has no problem completely destroying the narrative of Christmas. Now, Christmas is a made up story, but the idea and the tradition of Jesus Christ, knowingly for centuries being Jewish, all of a sudden now he's Palestinian. All of a sudden now he's in an occupying land. And yes, we know the Romans came in and occupied whatever, but what AOC tried to do is once again inflate hate. inflate hate towards Jews, inflate hate towards Israel, distorting the truth. And now there's a new organization, ladies and gentlemen, called Doctors Against Genocide. Shockingly, recently created for the sole purpose, as it says on its website, to confront and prevent genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. Today, it's focused solely on, quote, ending the acute genocide in Gaza, but hopes to expand its operations in the future. Right. Because when the Uyghurs were being destroyed, it didn't matter. In Sudan, it didn't matter. In other places around the world, it didn't matter. The only time it matters is when Jews and Arabs are at war. And the
Well,
interesting thing is, hold on, so allow me to finish. And the interesting thing is that this group's only call is to eliminate, to stop the quote genocide by Jews, because Hamas has no responsibility whatsoever towards its people. Hamas, it's interesting, Stuart, because the governments of this world, the media of this world, have legitimized that Hamas is a government. They're duly elected. They have a Ministry of Health. Their information has to be legitimate. But when it comes up to protecting their own people, and take Vladimir Zelensky as a great example. When Zelensky had a problem, what did he do to the women and children? He evacuated them, recruited the men, and fought against Russia. But Hamas doesn't care. They're sitting in villas in Qatar. They're relaxing on beaches. They're stored away billions and billions of dollars. They've got arms in everywhere from teddy bears to daycares to hospitals to mosques. But it's only Israel. Only Israel. And this is your 21st century hate that the Democratic Party has permitted its members to promote. Stuart, sorry.
So David, I want to also bring something else in. So people call Jews that aren't against this war, or and that are for it, they say Jews are the occupier. Okay, so let's go back to the holy book of the majority of the Muslim faith, and they call the faith, and they call this the Quran. I'm not talking about the in-depth versions and perversions of certain texts and subtexts, but 43 times Israel is mentioned. 41 times it's Bani Israel, which is the children of Israel. And multiple times, which I think it's 2 additional times, they talk about a prophet, Jacob, right? When you're talking about history and they're saying Jesus was a Palestinian, there is zero reference in any Arab subtext that goes back thousands, Muslim subtexts that has the word Palestine, Palestinian in it at all. Yet they want to raise a holy war. It's beyond an oxymoron. The perversion of texts that are being taken. So Israel was a country, right? Palestine was not. Palestine or Palestina was a Roman name adopted by the British Royal Empire.
Not even the Ottomans. Not even the Ottomans used that term.
No, not even the Ottomans used it, because they were anti-British Commonwealth. But again, here we are arguing that, David, you're a bad Zionist, as you got called out by one of our listeners, and I got called out by one of our listeners last week, right? Taking one side of I'm not taking one side of the equation. I would love someone who claims to be an expert in the holy book of the Muslim faith.
No, Stuart, it's not even that. But it's not even that. Anybody who calls us bad
But there's one more thing. I was trying to get to a point. I'm not there yet. If you go now to media, the way a left-wing media says Muslims and Jews are faced with anti-Muslim, anti-Semitic, taking the Jewish problem secondary to the anti-Muslim problem.
We know that already.
I understand, David. But if you go to the statistics, The FBI, which is the Federal Bureau of Investigation, not the beverage company in Canada, says Jews are the most picked on and violence against, up 6,000% to
But
2020.
just Stuart, you see, you're confusing facts. You're confusing facts because the facts don't matter. Here, the facts
Wow.
don't matter because if the facts mattered, and this is where I'm being called a bad, you called me I'm a Zionist and colonist or whatever, and I keep saying to the people the same thing. You're the one who needs to show me the facts. I want to understand if Hamas is a legitimate government. Tell me what legitimate government steals the money earmarked for their people. Tell
Oh,
me
that's
what or
a dangerous question,
tell
David,
me
because
tell
there's
me
been
what.
corruption in politics in every country
No,
in the
no, no,
world.
no, 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 no,
No,
no. I get.
I think your question's wrong. What government puts its people, women and children, in the line of fire? You said that
Yeah,
Zelensky
yep.
took the women and children away and put the men forward. So no, David, I think you've got the
I
question
get.
wrong.
Okay, but agreed. But here's the second question I want to
Wow.
ask. Okay, here's the second question. Not the second question I want to ask to all the people here again is when you look at these groups like UNRWA, there's new Doctors Against Genocide, all of these things, it has one common message: the destruction of Israel. It could
Yeah.
wrap itself up. It could wrap itself up in this beautiful bow. You've used the term before, the lipstick on the pig, and to say stop the genocide in Gaza, basically calling for the unilateral ceasefire. Israel's to call. All that means is give Hamas a chance to rearm, collect more money, and start all over again. Because what no one is saying here is that if you listen to the messages by Hamas, Stuart, they were repeating that they were going to attack Israel again, and what we saw on October 7th was a test run. It will get worse and worse each time. But these bastards from Doctors Against Genocide, who by the way wanted to protest in front of the U.S. Holocaust Memorial and canceled it because they were told this is probably one of the most disgusting things you could do, but they'll find another way to get their message across. The message is pure anti Semitism. It's about placing the blame only on Israel and every Jew around the world. The 15 million Jews on a global scale, Stuart, are all guilty, according to these groups. And to call for an intifada and to call for genocide and to call from the river to the sea, it just shows you the distortion of the truth, the distortion that these groups are trying to create. It's one more form. And to Stuart, and with this, I'm just going to wrap it up. The reason we don't have a top 10 or 15 stories this year, ladies and gentlemen, is because since October 7th, it's been one story.
Yep.
It's the fake side of the left, fake, that they claim DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. They claim all these things, but the reality is they're a hate group. They're a reformed religion that is all its only one purpose is to destroy, discredit, and eliminate 15 million Jews worldwide. Just listen and pay attention.
You know, David, there's not much more to add. It's just sort of the irony of the left and the electorate in New York that allows, which says they are the most diverse state in the country and they are the beacon of light of equality. I know it's kind of funny, it's not California, but Hollywood is silent, right? Hollywood is silent. New Yorkers are silent. And you know what the funny thing is? Why do I not seem surprised? David, last words, I'm going to wrap it up.
I'm going to tell you something. Even tennis star Martina Navratilova, who has no stake in this, and others have stood up and commented about what's going on and being vilified. And it just goes to show you how one-sided like you said, the media, the politicians, they've been. But the truth, you shall never seek the truth because you don't want to hear the truth.
Yep. I'll end with that, David. Thanks for joining in today's episode. We tune Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Monday was Friday. Yep. 3 days a week. That's 300 episodes or more that David and I have done for the last 3+ years. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern. And typically, we never let an episode slide. Even David jumps in solo more often than I do to make sure that we get a message out to you. In the meantime, don't forget to follow us on social media. Believe it or not, it is very important. Catch our podcasts. And we
YouTube
understand
people,
that
go to YouTube. Check out our YouTube videos.
YouTube video, our website, David, there's many outlets. There's Apple Podcast, Spotify. And if you've got a Tesla, you can now stream your podcast while you're driving. Not only that, you can Zoom call. Guys, keep on listening to our rant. We love you. We miss you. Have a healthy, safe day. And once again, don't fact check. Fact check the fact checkers.